right, guys. Good afternoon. All right, welcome everybody as we get ready for the Netflix earning. Good afternoon, Peter. Good afternoon. We got Andrew. We got Brian, and we got
Afternoon.
Jared as well. So good afternoon, everybody, as we await Netflix earnings this coming up after the close. So excited about this segment, guys. So we're gonna be doing more like these as we do major earnings. So hopefully we can provide some good insights for you guys and just kind of watch how the market reacts. And I think this is gonna be an important earning because again, streaming has been something that it's gone in so many different directions over the years, Peter. I mean, it's insane. Went from having a couple of services, Netflix obviously being one of the bigger ones, and then everything spreading out all over the place. Even stuff that's traditional, like football games. Like who would have thought football games are now hosted by Amazon Prime, and now if you want to watch your favorite team on a certain day, you got to get Amazon Prime, right? So it's been a lot of changes to it. Some good, some bad, and we also see a lot of it being consolidated again now, right? So it went from splitting everything up to consolidations. Some networks not doing so well. Some of them talking about mergers like Fubo, talking about getting merged with Disney. So just a lot of different stuff happening in this field, which is interesting. And it affects, I think, all of us as consumers, right? With this, based on what our preference and
Well,
what we like to watch.
yeah, and we were relying on our streaming services for a while to be the place where you could go not to watch ads, and of course that's been changing as well, where they've
Yeah.
been putting discounted. Well, they call them discounted services, but really what they've done is they've taken the base rates and then added ads, and then they'll charge you a premium if you want to watch a service without ads in many cases, which has been very frustrating on for me at least for services like Amazon Prime. But Netflix has sort of they've played careful on that game. We'll see what they do going forward. But as you said, Carlos, there's changes coming. It'll be interesting to see how the market responds to Netflix with this earnings coming up here in about half an hour.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. And again, we'll take a look at some of the stuff that they've done in previous years, how they've been performing, especially last year. And I think this really dictates, how other platforms are going to perform as well and how well they've been doing. If we take a quick look here at the way they're performing today, as far as right now, we see that they are slightly up 1.2. Got some good volume, 4.8 million shares traded, which for what they do on a regular basis is somewhat in line, a little bit more. But again, pretty not significant huge volume than what we're used to seeing throughout the day out of Netflix, right? So not a whole lot of movement as we await this release here. So it should be interesting. At the moment, you can see the charts year to date again pretty flat. Oh, January. I think we're right back where we started in January, 868, right? So pretty flat at the moment as far as that goes. So could be interesting. Netflix, as far as day trading though, not a great intraday trading stock. We don't watch it much unless there is some kind of news, right? If there's some kind of news, we're definitely paying attention. We're definitely having it on our watch list. But for the most part, it's not one that's always talked about in our watch list every morning.
That's true. While it gets volume every single day, the price action can be a little difficult to day trade, at least in my opinion, compared to how I normally trade stocks. It doesn't move as well as some of the other Magnificent Seven type stocks, and certainly not as well as some sectors like semiconductors or Tesla representing the EV sector. But that being said, today is all about Netflix. So let's talk about it because we are focused on it, and for good reason. If we take a look back and look and see what Netflix was doing, let me just flip here, guys, to a chart. Let's take a look at what we were doing before. Oh yeah, hold on. You know what I should do for you guys? Just give me 1 second. I'm going to because I realized Andrew's here, and Andrew's going to get angry if I show a black chart for too long because apparently his brain starts to fuse when that happens. So
You're gonna get a
let me go
text.
to
Why you have this black chart
yeah,
on?
I know, I know. I gotta get sorry. As soon as I put it on the screen, it's funny. I didn't even realize it when I was here because I'm so used to them. But as soon as I put it on the screen, I'm like, oh, gonna make somebody angry. All right, so let's take a look back at Netflix on a daily chart because I want to highlight. Let's highlight here. Let me put it. This is the area right here, of course, that we had earnings last quarter. And last quarter, we saw a significant increase. In fact, there was more price action both leading into earnings and then, well, there was significant jump after earnings. We saw the day of the earnings, right? So before the numbers came out, we saw a little bit of a drop as Netflix was in a downturn for the week leading into that. Then we had about a 10 to 11% jump once earnings came out and then through the following day. So I don't know if we can use that as indication of what may happen now, because coming into today's earnings, we've actually been in an uptrend on Netflix over the last couple of days compared to where we were before. But what is interesting to me is if you really look at Netflix as a stock, I mean, since the Q3 numbers, the stock at its peak was up almost 37%, hitting a high of 941.75 early in middle of December, we'll call it. But it's down about 10% off that peak. So still, over the last quarter, that's a 26% increase compared to where we were. So Netflix has certainly seen price appreciation over the last quarter. And that, I think, is actually hard to sustain. So the question is Netflix priced for perfection where it already is? I mean, there's pretty high expectations, I think, coming into this earnings. They're already forecasting somewhere between a 12 and a 15% revenue increase and subscriber jump. Last quarter, people weren't really expecting significant subscriber increase, and yet there was sort of a surprise increase. And, I think that's what led to that jump in that increase. So it'll be interesting to see, like, as I'm looking at the different analysts, they are all over the place. Generally, there's, I would call it inflated expectations, but exactly where is Netflix going to fall? It's going to be tough to tell. Jared's going to talk to us a little bit, I think, about the expected move. He's got those numbers and can tell you sort of what the market in aggregate is thinking it's going to go. But for me, just looking at the overall movement since the last quarterly earnings that came out in October, I think we're sort of tough pressed to see huge moves on Netflix unless they disappoint. If they disappoint, it could be we have lots of room to move right back down to these levels where we last consolidated. I would say back down around $720, $730, which of course is about like $140 lower than where we're sitting right now. So yeah, it could be rough or it could be glorious, right? We've got room both top side and downside. I think Netflix is a good long-term stock. I mean, of course, as we move out on the picture, right, you can't help but notice, I mean, Netflix over the last few years has been a stellar performer, and it's one of those stocks where you certainly wish you had taken it a couple of years ago and held on, or even better yet, you don't even have to go back that far. Look at the downturn it made in 2022. I mean, heck, if we had all just sort of jumped in with some money back when it was sitting below $200, you'd certainly be a happy camper right now, wouldn't you? So hindsight is always 2020. The question is, what do we do now with Netflix sitting where it is at a price of about $870 roughly on the day today? It's an interesting position, and I think we're hard pressed to find a lot of increase in the price, but we'll see. There could be other opinions here as to where we go. But Carlos, we were talking a little bit earlier. Netflix has been working to change their model in amongst an industry that is changing. Last quarter, we didn't really hear much about the changes. 3 quarters previously, so at the beginning of this fiscal year, they were talking about changes to their models internationally. I was talking about the ads a minute ago where they were adding different subscription options where you could actually get a lowered price subscription with ads. Obviously, they've cut down, or they've really increased their security to make sure that people aren't sharing accounts. I can tell you honestly, as a father with kids, all over the world, we were sharing accounts as a family, but we weren't a family living in one household. So they made me actually change my subscription model so that I could provide my kids with a cheap Netflix subscription, and of course I pay the big premium rate. So that's I'm sure others have done the same thing. So they've got models. They can always find a way to get their pound of flesh, right? Just like a good cable company, they're figuring it out. But we can't forget that in and around the actual stock price, their competitors have seen a little bit of consolidation as well. We've been talking about Fubo in the pre-market show in the morning, how they, with Hulu, have got a little bit of consolidation. And I think we're going to see more of that, right? More of these streaming services start to consolidate. Now, I have not heard Netflix even suggest, there's been no rumors that I've caught, that they are looking to acquire some of their competitors or look at consolidation. Of course, I have to assume Netflix would be the net acquirer because nobody's got enough money to buy them. I still love the stories of Blockbuster back in the day when Netflix offered to sell themselves to Blockbuster, and Blockbuster laughed them out of the boardroom. And we all know how that turned out. So Netflix now would be in the position to acquire the other services because I said they've got cash reserves and market presence that frankly make them unaffordable for anybody to take them over at this point. So we'll see where it goes. I think it's going to be fascinating. We'll see Netflix earnings come out pretty much right at 4 o'clock. So we'll have to be ready right as the markets close because there'll be action real quick.
Yeah, yep, they sure will be. We also have Jared. Jared's with us, and he's going to give us some information that's very important, especially for earnings. I'm looking forward to hear some of these expected moves and what he has to share because I think that's important, especially if you're looking to trade these on what to expect. What is the options telling us out there? So, hey, good afternoon, Jared. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you so much. Yeah, so Peter did a pretty good summary of last quarter's earnings and some of the analyst expectations. A little bit of overview on what analysts are expecting this quarter. Given we're going into Q4, the analysts are still expecting growth year on year, about 10.11 billion, which is about 14.4% year on year growth. And it's a roughly about a 15% overall increase from the same quarter last year. So quite a bit of, I would say, lofty expectations from analysts right now, going into what is the first, report for the new year, and the simple fact that Netflix is one of our major communication, I'll just say, risk on type stocks for the overall market. Um, Another thing I really like that Peter kind of mentioned, talking through this idea that Netflix has quite a bit of cash on hand, and there could be some ideas about whether Netflix may buy back shares of its own company. Obviously, the price would have to be right for that to take place, along with the acquisition of other services or other competitors. So it'd be somewhat worthwhile to hear some of that conversation, maybe through the investors report or any of the I would say overall discussion later this afternoon. But as always, the main thing is what the marketplace in general is thinking about this earnings and what sort of volatility are we about to expect. And that's where I get to shift over into the option market and what's kind of hidden behind the scenes of this stock. So as you can see on my screen, Netflix is trading about 1% higher on the day. We're looking to close somewhere around 870. The hard part is whether or not this thing's going to move in the last 10 minutes. But let's just say we're looking to close somewhere within our trading range today. And when we shift over into the option market, we get this sort of daunting view of all the option strikes and all of the different contracts you can buy and sell throughout the option market. The thing we want to look at here is what the short-term weekly series is pricing in for the expected move. And for those unfamiliar, this is really just an expectation of volatility, what the option market sees as risk. And this risk can be expressed in both a move to the upside or a move to the downside. So really, it's just an idea of how wide this stock is going to move and what would be a normal sort of statistically nominal type of trade versus something that is maybe a bit larger, which we would often refer to as a breach of expected move. So the easiest way to get this number and really to look at it outright, my platform is really nice because it does a calculation for me. This plus or minus 70 right here is roughly what we're expecting for the overnight trade. And that basically means that depending on where Netflix closes, we're looking for the stock to move higher or lower 70 bucks. So if we just go back to our price chart here, we can kind of take a rough guess at what our targets are based on this expected move. And then we can start to kind of see where that leaves us for the day ahead, and especially into Friday for anyone who's trading those weekly options. So if we're looking to close somewhere around 870, a $70 move higher would bring us right to the all-time high, which would be about 940. if we're doing it exactly at $70. Obviously, if we're already hitting the all-time high, we might as well go for broke and probably look for a shot through 950, which was the spike high in one of the pre-market trades. And if we look to the downside, a $70 move lower would put us back into 800. Now, Peter had mentioned some of the lofty growth that we had seen from the previous quarter's earnings. And that would be something that unfortunately isn't in range of expected move. But the question is, if we are dropping price and if it's not necessarily what the overall market expects from this earnings, we could see a bit more downside volatility. Usually price drops are going to be a little bit more volatile. So 800 would be conservative. Anything lower would be deemed a breach. And we'd often be looking for something like that consolidation post Q3 earnings last year. So it's a nice way to kind of, I would say, draw a fence. As those in the chat room know, this is more about defining a really good fence line for where the stock should trade to. And then beyond that, it's going to be basically a loose dog. So anything beyond 940 or 800 kind of puts us into open territory. And we can start to look for things that are more about expansion or potentially some sort of dropping of some sort of, price support or any sort of base that we have previously established. So that's what our expected move is showing. And really, the only thing else to do in the option market is really just look around for where those key volume and open interest strikes are. Netflix is really good at trading at the whole dollar levels. So 900 is going to have a lot of volume, 950 is going to have volume, even 1,000. Even though this is not within the expected move, anyone who is speculating a more bullish move in Netflix would be putting their volume in the 1,000 price range. And then anything to the downside, we could deem as more of like a downside hedge or someone speculating a price drop into the earnings, with the understanding that these premiums are quite elevated. And that's, of course, based on the fact that we're entering into earnings. So that's wholeheartedly what I see throughout the option market. I think it kind of gives us a good range to play with. And as always, we're expecting it overnight. So we kind of want that move to happen really quickly throughout the earnings release and hopefully with a little bit of follow through into tomorrow's trade.
Yeah, awesome, man. Yeah, looking forward to that, man. We know Netflix can be very, very volatile, especially on earnings, right? So be careful if you're looking to trade this after the close when earnings come out. Just again, be very mindful of risk management. Again, we keep saying it, how important that is going to be. As we wait for the earnings, guys, quick look at some of the stuff that Netflix has done over the years. Peter, you touched on this a little bit, but the numbers are pretty wild. I mean, just check this out, right? Last year they did 84% return. I mean, that's massive. It's unheard of. I'm right. We had a huge jump on many stocks, but 84. The year before that, 63, and this is the year where they just did not do so well at all. They were talking about password cracking down. They were down 51% on 2022. So again, overall in the last couple of years, not a bad run. These guys are been crushing. You can see in the charts they're doing very well. Whatever they're doing is working. People are loving their shows. And then me personally, Peter, I don't know about you, but me personally, I always find something to watch here, right? So we got a membership now. We used to share a membership with my sister-in-law, and then that stopped working. We kept getting kicked out. And then my wife said, let's just get it. Like, let's just get it. And we got one, and it's been good, man. Can't complain. Happy with the membership, and I'm sure there are other people out there that are doing it the same. So, guys, want to remind people over on YouTube, if you guys like this segment and you guys want to see more of these as earnings season gets kicked off and we start seeing more companies report, hit that thumbs up so we know that you like this, and we can keep doing this for major earnings just like this one around the close here. So.
Yeah, Carlos, as we were talking earlier, from my point of view, part of the problem with Netflix is the fact that there's actually too much content to try and absorb. They've done a great job of not only licensing different shows and movies that they can put on, but of course producing their own content. And you got to wade through a lot of stuff to find the good things, right? Like, unfortunately, Netflix has produced a lot of crap. And it's not always the stuff you'd expect. Sometimes they paid for big name actors and then give them a horrible script. And I just don't understand why they've done that.
Right.
In other cases, you get absolutely no name people in it. So it's not something you would normally find, but it's an excellent movie, right? Well produced, good content. So you've got to really sort of wade through and find the stuff that you want. And foreign language, I find a lot of good content on there, as long as you don't mind reading subtitles. There's some good stuff out there. You and I were talking a minute ago, like some of their very early stuff. There's this great sci-fi movie that I love called Spectral, which is something they produced in 2016, and I think it's still one of their best Netflix original movies, sci-fi movies produced to date, and nobody's ever heard of it. So if you're like sci-fi, go check that one out. I think it's a great watch. But anyways, there's a ton of stuff. So it's interesting to me that Netflix earnings and what they do market-wise seems to be very disconnected from their actual content, because I think they just have so much content that it's, I at least I've never been able to tie together. It's not like, like people were talking, well, in this quarter, big things have happened, right? Like they had the Jake Paul Tyson. We can't forget about that big fight.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Which had what, like almost 120 million viewers. Yeah. Record for a live event. Had some technical issues with it, but didn't seem to slow them down, right? They got a little boost after that. The stock was at least performing volume-wise. Is that going to affect this quarter? I don't know. Like they've also added WWE as a live sporting event. I have to use air quotes on that. Is WWE sport, or is it just entertainment? Anyways, you guys can debate
Good
that
question.
one.
Let us know in chat.
Yeah, I know. It's almost like talking religion to do that. But anyways, you guys can have that debate. It doesn't matter. They've added that to their content roster. But the question is, will that actually result in a change in their price or the earnings effect? I'm not sure. Personally, I've never seen that direct correlation. The market has always looked at their subscriber numbers as something that they use as an indication as to whether the company's growing and whether the stock price should appreciate, which, by the way, this is the last quarter that Netflix is going to be providing their subscriber numbers in the way they have in the past. So they've decided to sort of make that a little more opaque, and probably for good reason, right? As a company matures, its subscriber base can't increase as fast. So it makes sense that they're going to sort of obfuscate that. Those are my words in the future. So I think it's going to be a little more difficult to understand how the subscriber growth is going. But everybody knows that, right? We're coming into this quarter knowing it's the last time we're going to see the numbers in the form we've been used to. So, we'll see if that has an impact. I mean, you roll all this up together, like Jared was saying, that expected move. I think he and I agree that it's going to be tough for Netflix to really surprise to the upside, and there's a big risk of a downside move. So, let's get ready. If you guys are looking to trade it, we're just a couple minutes away now. Remember what happens, by the way. If you haven't done earnings live before, usually what happens, unless you've got a Bloomberg terminal, we're going to see the stock move probably about 30 seconds before we actually see the earnings results. So those earnings results, we'll get them to you the second we get them and as soon as they come out. But we're probably going to see that stock start to move. Now, that first move, by the way, isn't always indicative of the direction, right? Sometimes it can move in the opposite direction and then it starts to plummet. Or the other way, right? It drops and then starts to shoot up. So just be careful if you're looking to trade this on earnings. It can be sketchy at first. So often what we do is we look for the settling after that first move and then figure out if we think it's going to do a continuation move or a big pullback. So whatever you do, we've got about a minute and a half before 2.5 minutes. Sorry, before the number, minute and a half. I got to do my math here. Minute and a half before the numbers come out.
So far, the market today has been helping it, right? Market is up almost 1%, so good day for the markets, and a lot of stocks did well. So that's hopefully could help it. But the subscriber number, Peter, I get that because, it's all about, are you making money, right? Are you hiring these big stars now? Are you being profitable? The number could be low or the same, but if you're profitable on your product, that's what really matters. I think Netflix wants people to focus more on that other than, hey, how many users we had today? How many people canceled and came back, right?
Well,
I think that's more important.
Well, especially as they, it was simpler when they had one subscription level. Now that they're introducing
Right.
many different levels of subscription, you could get movement, and they don't necessarily want to expose how many people moved from high price to low price or low price to high price, and that movement can have revenue impact. I get why they don't want to show it, because it's not as simple of a picture, and they don't want to have
Yeah.
to expose everything.
Explain it.
So
Yeah,
instead, they're
yeah.
pulling back.
Yep.
So. But anyways, whatever's going to happen, we've
Yeah, they
got
also-
about 20 seconds again. Go ahead, Brian.
They also had those live events, football events on Christmas Day too, which were well,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the
well
NFL
enjoyed.
are
Yes, and maybe
So-
setting up to do more of those as well. So
live sports
Anyways,
is
it's-
certainly becoming a bigger part of. Okay, here, guys, look at this. Netflix is out.
Wow.
Look at this. We've got what a huge move up. Oh my God, $50 move up so far. Let's see if it can hold this. $926 is the current price.
Remember, we're looking for about 940 to 950 based on the expected move here, assuming this is the correct direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
We'll
What
see.
a move.
Yeah. So, and to what Jared was just saying, Carlos, if you can flip to a daily chart, look where we're sitting here, right? This is exactly the area where we hit the peak price on the daily.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is sort of the area of, either confirmation or denial. This price is either going to hold here and move higher, or, it's going to sink. So let's see what happens. It's holding surprisingly well so far.
Yeah. It's actually
Yeah,
holding
we-
pretty good.
We basically just touched the fence line just now, so we're either looking for a loose dog or a dog to stay in the yard.
Or there's going to be a yank on the chain to pull it back.
That's right.
I like the
I like that.
I like the
that.
analogy. I
Yeah.
like the analogy. Yeah,
All right, we'll
it's
see.
good. So 940 is the. Let's see if we can break out from here.
Yeah, 940,
Here we
80 is
go.
the high of the after hours right now. Let's see where it goes from here. Oh, there it is.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, here's the break.
950.
That's a new
Wow.
all-time high right there.
Wow, that is.
Yeah, that's it.
I was expecting these guys were going to crush it again, just based on my personal experience. I like what they're doing personally,
Wow.
right? So I got
Spy and Qs are moving up on that news as well after hours.
yep. Big move here. When is
So-
their numbers released?
So wow. So we got some numbers out on Netflix. They have announced the fact that they had 18.9 million new subscribers added. They also said that they're in their net earnings that they're looking to increase prices on their base rates by about $1. So that's probably part of what the market's reacting here to. And they're predicting that their 2025 revenues are going to be somewhere between 43.5 and 44.5 billion dollars. So with about 301.6 million subscribers. So interesting numbers out of Netflix. They're being aggressive in the numbers. We'll have to see, I guess, if they're able to hit those.
Yeah.
But the price is certainly supportive. Wow, I did not expect this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised how clean it's trading. Like right now, if you look at it, right, it's popped up. It hit 950, it hit 966 is the highest we got right now, and it's holding well. Like it wants 970. So let's see where it goes. But this
Yeah.
is a very good reaction to the data as we're seeing here. And again, guys, don't feel pressure to trade it now. This is gonna be on our watch list tomorrow. It's gonna be in play for sure with a lot more volume. So we'll have opportunities to get our hands on this tomorrow morning as well as we do the pre-market show.
Yeah, well, and Jared, like as you pointed out, right, the expectation was about 14% growth on the memberships. They're up almost 15.9% with that 301.6 million number they released. So I can see why the stock price is reacting favorably. Again, like Carlos just mentioned, we all have to remember, if you're watching earnings, always remember this is on the lowered volume, and what I always like to call the deep pockets or the big money hasn't really voted yet, right? Because they vote typically during market hours, and we can often see the stock price do something very different when the market actually opens. So I prefer to trade that anyways because it gives me a little more price certainty and a little less volatility and risk. So that's sort of my preferred trading. That being said, there are people that specialize in trading earnings, and if you're one of them, I hope you're able
Yeah.
to catch this move and take the opportunity. But I'll leave it to you. I'm not that
Yeah.
aggressive.
That's kind of why the expected move is such a nice, I would say, level set way to view this, because
Right.
given that view of this is not only possible to move up to these highs, but if it's already moving in that direction, it also means a technical breakout or something is likely to happen. It really just puts all the pieces together, and then we just have to follow the price action. So right now, we're
Right.
not really seeing anything indicative of, I would say, selling. And as Peter mentioned, the real vote will be tomorrow, but anyone who's speculating on higher prices might have had to pay extra premium for those, let's say, bullish positions this week, but they're also looking for something bigger than that $70 move. And that's kind of why the expected move is a boundary at first, but it can also breach if earnings are actually better than expected or worse than expected. So it's a good way to just kind of smooth everything out and say, the stock is going to be 8% volatile, 10% volatile, and translating that into numbers we can take as price action traders is really nice.
Yeah, we're seeing here still holding up. I'm expecting some kind of pullback, but this thing is strong, looking to push higher, man. So yeah, careful, guys. I see some comments in chat about go short now. I don't know. Be very, very careful.
Yeah,
And the spread, right,
yeah.
Brian? Brian, are you in this? Did you trade this at all?
No, I'm not in this at all. But I just, yeah, I mean, it's really you're trying to grab a knife at this point, a falling knife to short this. I think it's going to be seems pretty supportive up here. I mean, you might get a quick move down, but I think there's buyers there.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of interest up there. And the
It does seem
spread,
to be sort of
Wow.
settling into a trading
Wow.
range here right now around this sort of 960 level.
yeah, yeah. Spread, yeah, spread is $1 to almost 240. We do see that, and and that's normal for almost $1,000 stock. It's not too far off, especially during this time where it's after hours. And again, just look at the volume. I know we're getting big moves, but the volume is very, very low, guys. So you're gonna have that spread. Hopefully tomorrow's a lot tighter. When the heavy volume comes in, and it'll give us better opportunities to trade if we don't find one now. So, um, yeah. All right, we're seeing a
So kind of interesting. I mean, they did beat top and bottom line, 4.727 versus 4.19 on the EPS. Sales up a little bit, 4.24 billion versus or 10.24 billion versus 10.11 estimate. Uh, Global streaming paid memberships up almost 16% year over year. That's what really people look at. How much traction the company's still growing their membership.
yeah,
See,
they're doing good.
interesting. Their forward guidance is a little bit lower than what the street was expecting
Hmm.
in terms of EPS and revenue, but it doesn't seem to be hurting the stock right now.
No, that being said, I've tried to take a little bit of a short here myself just to see if I can get a drop down. We're here. Might as well have some fun. Very, very more like play size than anything serious. But I got it at 959 at 25, so just gives me a little bit of a cushion here, and we'll see
It
if we can
certainly
get a
looks
drop
like
back.
it's kind of making a series of lower highs here. If so,
Hmm.
if it
It's not.
Let's see here.
Not moving lower as quickly as I would have
You
hoped.
should get a
But
you should get a nice flush here if we just lose this 955 area.
that's what I'm hoping. 950 is just where I wanted to get to. 950
Yeah,
or
that
bust,
would
baby.
be 951.20 on that second 2-minute candle
Hmm.
was the low.
Yeah, as we see, someone mentioned in chat other earnings like United. Yeah, United also reported today, and they're doing good. They're up right now, 11.3, 7.5. So they're also doing pretty good right now. And I see American Airlines and other airlines following suit. So that'll be in play tomorrow as well. And I like the airlines, Peter. I know you're like half and half on the airlines, depending,
Yeah.
right? So. We'll see. We'll see how they look tomorrow. But yeah, United Airlines, man, at 115, this stock was sitting just middle of last year under 45. So insane comeback for this one in the last couple of months. So good stuff happening there.
Indeed, I'm still waiting to see what Netflix wants to do. It's just chopping in a range here. Not a surprise, like we said. It sort of settled
No.
into this zone here.
Yep. What's
Like
your entry,
Carlos is
Peter, on
pointing,
this one?
volumes. Yeah, volumes are low and getting lower. I mean, we're talking about like we're 20 to 30,000 shares a minute, which is very very low. So yeah, you got to be careful. Any deep pocketed person could move this one way or the other.
Yep.
Yeah, it does look like it's trying to head lower here. Profit taking.
I'm hoping. There we go.
So United Airlines, record fourth quarter profits, well ahead of expectations. Kind of like that. With all those extra baggage charges.
Yes, indeed. It's working.
Peter,
It's
your
working.
trade's looking like it might work here.
Yeah, we're getting close. I'm tempted not to be too greedy and take something off a little early here at 9:52, but we'll hold on for the moment.
Yeah, again, performed really well. So I'm surprised how clean the trading was. Right, I usually get this huge drop down, back ups, a lot of back and forth, but this was very clean, straight up, and then just kind of giving some back here. Um, so not bad. Hitting all time highs, guys. This tomorrow will be a lot of fun. We're gonna have more volume, so that definitely make
Oh,
sure you tune into that. Oh, look at
might have.
that.
All right,
Peter, you,
I took my I took it off at break even, so I might have missed my opportunity there. Well, I clearly did because it got close to
you,
my target. It didn't quite
you
hit it.
got 951 there. You just they just
Hmm.
front ran you.
I never saw the price actually hit 951. I see that was the low of that candle, 951 exactly, but I never saw it get
Yes.
below 952. So, anyways, that's okay. Again, just thought we're sitting here. I thought I'd play a few shares, see what happens. No harm, no foul. Yeah.
Yep.
No.
So, but I'm not going to take the risk, right? To me, this is the type of stock, like I said, I can't manage the risk very well in this. So I played it for fun, but I'm not going to, expect to make a lot on it, nor am I going to put a lot at stake because, the big risk at this low volume is like we saw in the drop down, right? It dropped $2 or $3 in a matter of a second. Last thing I need is that type of move happening against me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, going the other direction. So we're
Yep.
kind of after we got that nice little spike up on the SPY and the Qs, they've kind of started to leak off here. SPY is pretty much back to where we went out today. Qs are up a little bit, but that's probably the result of the big move on Netflix.
Friends over on YouTube, again, if you like this these type of sessions. We'll do them more for bigger earnings. So make sure you hit that thumbs up over on YouTube. Really appreciate it. And we'll come back. We'll look at the calendar over at tradingterminal.com, see what's the next big one that we want to kind of come in and give you that breakdown. Jerry came in. He's gone now, but he came in and gave us some good data. Peter, you had some information as well, which was interesting. And hopefully that helps you guys make great decisions. Again, if not today, tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll watch this and I can't wait to see how it does in the morning. Usually people, again, it's all-time high, so there'll be some profit taking, but this stock's everything looking very strong right now and holding nicely. So I think we'll be in for a nice show tomorrow on Netflix. No pun intended, by the way.
Well, and there you go. And like we were talking about, this is why you have to make your own decision. We just want to provide information and help you assess the market. And look, unlike analysts you get often in some of the, if I could say, on some of the network TV shows and elsewhere, I'm not going to pretend I know and that I'm right. Like, if you had trusted me, if I had made a guess, I would have guessed that Netflix would have dropped off of their earnings.
Really?
But obviously
I
that's
thought
not
the
what
opposite.
happened.
Yeah. Okay.
No, really. See, well, that's it. But my gut was that they were maybe priced a little too high, and that they were going to have a hard time hitting expectations. Clearly, I was wrong. But this is also why I trade the way I do. Right? As much as I may have a guess, I acknowledge that it's just a guess, and that I don't really know until the numbers come out and tell me where it's going, and then I base my trades on what the stock is telling me at that moment. And in this case, I would have been on the wrong side of it, so that's why I just sat and waited, because I'm not willing to take that risk. Yeah. So,
and Peter, we've done this for so long. How many times have we seen good numbers come out? You as well, Brian, and and the stock is like, okay, yeah, that's great, but we don't care. We actually feel we wanted this, we wanted that, and we're going down, right? So, or the guidance might be horrible.
Guidance, it's quite often it's guidance. And actually, I'm surprised Netflix is up because of their guidance wasn't great. So it's a little bit surprising. So just looking at a few of the ETFs here, in terms of what this report might have impact on, Netflix there is actually, I'm finding this on Trading Terminal. When you look at the ETFs, you can see what their holdings are. So Trading Terminal, as far as I can see, there is no holding of Netflix in the technology ETF XLK, but in the communications ETF, which is the XLC, like communications, Netflix is about 6.5% of that ETF. Meta, Google are the two that are above it. So both about 20% each. So Netflix could have a little bit of an impact on the XLC tomorrow. See, this is why doing a short here. Like I said, maybe there's a pullback you could have taken advantage of, but you can see the buyers. We're sitting waiting for that pullback, and now we're pretty much back at high of day here, or high of the pre-market. So again, pretty dangerous shorting this stock with so much strength and so many buyers here.
Yep, agree. One of the things you mentioned, Peter, is like you thought it was dropping. I get that too, because you see other streaming services kind of struggling. Like even Disney, they're having a hard time, man. They're restructuring a lot of things, making deals with Marvel and hiring all these new actors, and also these mergers that are happening. So they're struggling out there, but these guys, they're the daddy of it all, and they're showing people who's boss here as they go, right? Look at that, brand new, all-time high. New high. I mean, it's just it's nice to see. I like it. I'm gonna look forward to trading this one tomorrow. So should be fun.
Who's your daddy? Netflix is your daddy.
Netflix is chilling, my friends. All right, guys, this is gonna continue to go here over on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow morning, Peter and I, engineering the markets at 8 a.m. in our chat room. If you're not a member, check us out, BabelTraders.com. We always got tons of information in tradingterminal.com as well. But we'll be live, Peter and I, for the pre-market show at 8:30 tomorrow. So hopefully you enjoy this, guys. Hit that thumbs up. We'll do more like these to cover big stocks that are going to be releasing earnings throughout the earnings season. We'll look forward to the next one. We'll schedule it. Subscribe if you haven't, so you can get notified. And in chat, obviously, our members know that we're on all day long. So we're happy to do this segment. So anything else before we hop off, Peter
Yeah.
and Brian?
Not for me.
No, I
That's
don't
it.
think
Trade
so. I
smart,
think we
everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Kind of covered it. Yep. So we'll see you in the morning, everybody. Cheers.